All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Imagine for a second that you're the CEO of a massive US-based company. Business is absolutely booming, right? And you're expanding globally. Japan, India, Germany, the Middle East, you name it. Literally overnight, your whole world shifts. You're hiring teams from totally different cultural backgrounds, you're negotiating with foreign clients, and you're trying to sell products to people who see the world completely differently than you do. The stakes? Well, they're sky high. We're talking millions of dollars on the line here.
So looking at all that incredible complexity, you've got to ask yourself, is your go-to communication style going to work everywhere? Well, spoiler alert, the answer is a hard no. If you're banking on this myth of a universal business language, you are essentially setting yourself up for a really painful wake-up call. We're doing this explainer today because understanding these cultural nuances, it's not just some fluffy HR checklist anymore. It is absolutely crucial. It's literally one of the most vital management skills you can have in your toolkit.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We've got 5 sections. 1. The global expansion trap. 2. The Fusion Corp's failures. 3. Decoding the disconnect. 4. Building cultural intelligence. And finally, section 5, the global competitive advantage. All right, diving into section 1, the global expansion trap. Let's talk about the danger of standardizing communication. Before we get into the weeds, let's quickly anchor what we actually mean by cross-cultural communication. Basically, it's the exchange of information, ideas, emotions, and opinions between people from totally different cultural backgrounds. And here's the thing you gotta remember. Every single culture has its own unique rulebook, traditions, values, business etiquette, the whole shebang. When you lean in and respect those differences, your organization can really thrive. But if you just ignore them, yeah, you're gonna hit a massive brick wall of conflict. Which brings us to the wild cautionary tale of Fusion Corp. So Fusion Corp is this multinational giant, and they wanted to scale up fast. But they made a massive, glaring mistake. As they grew, the big bosses back at US headquarters decided, hey, let's just roll out standardized communication policies based entirely on how we do business in America. Now, on paper, you can kind of see why they did it. Standardization feels safe, right? It feels incredibly efficient. But man, it was a total trap. The second they took that playbook into Asian, European, or Middle Eastern markets, that illusion of consistency just completely shattered. People weren't getting the message, and those crucial business relationships just started to fracture right out of the gate. Moving on to section 2, the Fusion Corp failures. Let's look at their negotiations and marketing misfires. Okay, so this scenario perfectly captures where things went spectacularly wrong for them. Picture this. Fusion Corp's American execs sit down to hash out a huge deal with a Japanese delegation. On the American side, they are coming in hot. Very direct, aggressive, pushing hard for rapid-fire decisions. And, in the US, that's just seen as being professional and getting stuff done. But the Japanese delegation, they come from a culture that heavily prioritizes being indirect, showing deep respect, and building real relationships first. So the Japanese delegates do what's natural to them. They use silence to show they're carefully considering the offer. Well, the Americans absolutely panicked. They read that silence as uncertainty, so they just kept talking louder and pushing harder. The result? Total disaster. The Japanese saw them as incredibly impatient and wildly disrespectful, and a massively lucrative deal just totally collapsed. Not over price, but purely because of cultural blindness. But the bleeding didn't stop in the boardroom, oh no, it bled right over into their marketing. Take the US, for example. It's a highly individualistic culture, so ads all about personal achievement, they absolutely crush it. But Fusion Corp took those exact same individualistic ads and dropped them straight into collectivist cultures like Japan, China, and India. These are places where the core values are family, teamwork, and the community. Obviously, the ads completely bombed. They just didn't resonate with the target audience at all. So the real takeaway here is that cultural nuances go way, way beyond just translating the words on a page. You have to actively adapt. Think about it. A color that screams celebration in one country could literally be the color of mourning in another. Or a hand gesture that means awesome job back home might be super offensive across the globe. Fusion Corp just totally failed to localize, and because of that, their sales cratered and their brand reputation took a serious, serious hit. All right, section 3, decoding the disconnect. Time to diagnose the friction. To kind of bring some order to the chaos we were just talking about, let's break down the 5 main factors that cause these communication breakdowns. First up, language differences. And I don't just mean speaking a different language altogether. Even if everyone is speaking English, different vocabulary and regional accents can totally change the meaning of a sentence. Second, communication styles. Like we just saw, being direct versus indirect can literally make or break $1 million deal. Third, nonverbal communication.
How much eye contact is too much? What's the acceptable bubble of personal space? Fourth is cultural values. Does the culture heavily respect strict hierarchy, or are they more about equality and open debate? And finally, assumptions and stereotypes. If you're judging someone else's behavior entirely through your own cultural lens, you are virtually guaranteed to create a misunderstanding.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Building Cultural Intelligence. This is your prescription for success. So here is the roadmap of what Fusion Corp should have done, and honestly, what we all need to do. Step 1, provide real cross-cultural training before sending anyone on an international assignment. Step 2, focus on developing your cultural intelligence, or your CQ. This is your ability to understand, respect, and dynamically adapt to different cultural settings. Step 3, practice active listening. Don't just assume you get what they're saying. Ask questions to clarify. And Step 4, adapt your communication style. And let me be super clear about this. Adapting doesn't mean faking your personality. It's just a critical management tool. It's about tweaking your approach so everyone in the room feels comfortable and the message actually lands. And this stuff becomes even more critical when you factor in our modern, hyper-connected virtual world. Just think about a super simple 6-word email. Please revise this report. In one culture, that's just a normal, efficient request. Good to go. But in another culture, if you send that without a polite greeting or some context or a softening phrase, it comes across as unbelievably rude and demanding. When you're managing across time zones on Zoom and Slack, ambiguity is your absolute worst enemy.
Look, inevitably, miscommunications are still going to happen. It's just human nature. But when they do, this one concept is your ultimate safety net: empathy. In this context, empathy means actively trying to understand someone else's perspective without instantly judging them based on what's normal in your own culture. Leaders who really lean into that empathy are the ones who can respectfully navigate conflicts and actually build way deeper trust across international borders.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the global competitive advantage, thriving in an interconnected world.
It's really important to step back and realize that this whole concept goes way, way beyond traditional corporate boardrooms. Think about higher education. Universities are bringing in incredible international talent every single day. Or healthcare, where doctors are treating patients who have vastly different cultural beliefs about medicine and the human body. Tourism obviously relies on understanding global visitors. And in diplomacy, well, mastering cultural nuance literally dictates whether massive international peace or trade agreements succeed or fail. Because of globalization, this is just a mandatory survival skill everywhere. And if you want cold, hard proof of the ROI here, just look at the heavyweights. Global giants like Google, Toyota, Microsoft, IBM, they are pouring millions of dollars into cross-cultural training. And I promise you, they aren't doing it just for good PR. They are doing it because it is a proven, massive competitive advantage. They know that when you genuinely manage diversity well, you skyrocket your team's creativity, you drive rapid innovation, and you lock in sustainable, long-term global growth.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, incredibly important question to chew on. Are you actively aware of your own cultural biases before you jump into your next global meeting? Seriously, take a little time today to reflect on your own cultural intelligence. Think about how you might be coming across to someone on the other side of the world and start practicing that empathy and adaptation we talked about. Because honestly, it just might be the single most important skill that defines your ultimate success. Thanks for joining me.